Talk to Animals. My name is Shannon Cutts. I'm an animal intuitive and sensitive and a Reiki master practitioner here at animallovelanguages.com. And we've got Renee Tucker from Tucker Biokinetic Technique here today, and that's tuckerbiokinetic.com. I sometimes forget to say the website up front, so I want to make sure, and I'll also put it in the show notes. And we are talking here on season 3 of Let's Talk to Animals. If you're just joining us, we've spent the first 2 seasons talking with animal communication professionals from all around the world, sharing personal stories, exploring de-wooing, demystifying. What is animal communication? How does it work? Who can do it? How can I learn? What is it good for? Now in season 3, we are taking a much deeper dive into what do we do with the information we get? Whether you're an aspiring or professional practicing animal communicator, you're a pet parent who has used animal communicators or wants to. So often in the conversation, an animal will share an unmet need, a symptom, an issue that's coming up. And it's very natural to ask that question, well, what do we do with this information? Where do we go? And what else is out there if what we've tried hasn't worked? And so that's what season 3 is all about. If you've missed the first 2 seasons, I really hope that you'll go back into our archives and take a listen at animallovelanguages.com/podcast or on all of your favorite streaming systems or over on YouTube. And of course, season 3 is information packed with lots of great resources. So Renee, I gave you a little heads up before we pressed record here, and I shared that I was going to ask you to offer up a little bit about your story. You have a very unique and interesting story, especially from a trust your vibes or trust your intuition standpoint of kind of how you came to do the work that you do today and where your love of animals and specifically horses came from. So if you would, could you just rewind us a bit and take us kind of back to the beginning of how did you get started?
Well, thank you.
That was so dramatic.
And I appreciate it.
It was like da-dum, da-dum.
Yeah. No, it sounded like a professional TV drama series.
Thank you. Right. A really good one.
Right. Okay. So now we flash the timeline all the way back on the screen, right? And I'm a little baby. Yeah. Okay, so I grew up in Chicago and there was no horses. Right, a Chicago suburb actually, but for some reason I always loved animals. You know, any veterinarian, an aspiring veterinarian student loves animals, right? But it's only in looking back that we can kind of figure out our lives. And I realized that I was so shy, kind of a geek, little shy kid, and I would go to the library all the time and read. And looking back, I would get horse anatomy books because I love horses, because I love all animals, and I would just memorize the anatomy. And I was like 10 or 11. I just did that. You know, as a 10 or 11-year-old, you don't think about it. You just do it. Now, looking back, I'm like, oh, wait a minute. Of course, I was meant to do horses and whatever else, but it was definitely kind of built into me. So I did that. And I did go the vet school route. And, you know, you talk about intuition, which is incredible, right? We all have this. We all want to use it really. But you know what? You go through school and it gets squished, right? It is all logical. It is all memorize this and don't ask any questions for the most part. Okay. So I get through vet school. And what really got me on my current journey is that it wasn't working. Okay. Vet school is wonderful. As a veterinarian, I would love the horses. I want to help the horses. But you get to the ceiling where you can't do anything else. Yeah. Even if the horse has an MRI and you're like, that's great. You know, you're talking about as an animal communicator, you get symptoms and clues. And what do you do next? Well, the same with the veterinarian. Well, I got these blood work and I got these x-rays and I have nothing else to do with it. Yeah. I've done my injections. I've done my blocks. I've done the treatments that we have. And it does come to an end point in a lot of cases. And it's, as a veterinarian who wants to fix the horse, it's so frustrating. Obviously, it's much more frustrating to the owner of the horse and the horse, him or herself, but also to the vet. And so I kept running into that. And at the same time, this really interesting thing happened was that I had like 10 clients, really short period of time, like within 2 to 3 weeks, I would honestly say. 10 clients say, hey, do you do chiropractic? And who do you recommend? At the same time, I'm like smashing my head against the wall because I have all these horses I can't fix. And I have all these people asking me this question. Honestly, it was like God hit me on the head with a hammer. Hello, Renee.
Yeah.
Go this way. So I did. So I did chiropractic. That was back in '98. And so that was very helpful. It really opened my eyes because animals are not going to fake it. They're either better or not after you fix them. They're not. I know sometimes people think animals fake stuff, and I do think they pretend they didn't eat the stuff off the counter. Okay.
Oh yeah. Yeah. Any
Yeah.
sane being would.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. But as far as are you lame or not, are you hurting when I touch you on the spot or not? They're not faking that. So that was really helpful to me to be like, okay, what I'm doing as a chiropractic, certified vet is really working. Period. So that kind of opened the door to all the alternative medicine, which is a big deal because in veterinary medicine, you are mostly taught you don't do alternative medicine. We are it. If we don't know it, no one does, which is a bunch of crap. Okay. I hope I can say that, but you can edit it out.
Of course you can.
Yay!
We are not suppressing any opinions here today.
Yeah. I like to be upfront and straightforward. So because we got to be to try to help our animals. You can't just kind of blow a lot of smoke around, right? So anyways, so vet school, you're in this box, and that's the box, and it's hard to get out of the box because you're taught the box is the only thing that exists. But then I did chiropractic, and then the box opened up. So then I did acupuncture as well, and other classes and stuff like that, and then I ran out of them. And so I just kept going and developed the TBT technique today with a lot of prayer. Let me tell you, because I just be so stuck. Okay. Oh, and I did want to tell you a couple stories. I hope your audience won't mind, but
I sincerely doubt it.
Okay. So I'm going to be honest here. I'm coming from, this is now 20 years ago, but coming from 20 years ago or so, animal psychics. What's that? And I know psychic's not the right word, okay? Or some people are offended by that. I'm sorry about that. But most people say it's a psychic, and that's crazy. Okay. So I ran into this, people tell you stuff all the time as a veterinarian, right? They're just, while you're working, they tell you these stories. And I'm just going to be honest here. I want to tell you and your audience that I'm sorry, this is an insult, but about 80% of what I heard was boring, bland. I could have made that up. The horse is not happy because he wants a purple halter. Really? This is what you paid for? Okay. That's not what people want to hear. They need real info. So I'm sure that your training is legit. I feel like people aren't trying to fake it, but they're just so new and maybe tentative to say what the horse really said. But then the experience from a veterinarian is the stories you hear, 80% of them are just hooey, right? Which is not good for the industry of animal communication because it is real. But there are, in my experience, again, what I've heard, 20% of them are like, what? You're kidding me. So I'll tell you a couple of them. So there's one, and these are people I knew. These are clients that I had them for years. They were like rational people who didn't do drugs. Okay. So they're real. And this one case was this horse. They bought this horse. It arrived on a trailer. They thought, gosh, it's sure sleepy. And they kind of wondered later on if it had been drugged because it would never get on the trailer again. Ever. I'm telling you like this. 4 or 5 years later, they've tried everything. They've hired trainers. They've tried the long, gentle method. They've even, unfortunately, went to the aggressive method. The horse is flipped over. People have been injured. It is the horse not getting in that trailer. They were at the point when they were doing you only get fed if you get in this trailer.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
Yeah. Because they're at the point where the horse is dangerous and they can't even sell the horse because he can't get in there. This horse has now lost 100 pounds because he won't get in there. He'll eat off the back of it, so he's not dying, right? But he won't get in there to get the good food.
Well, that's some serious resistance. That's what's coming out at me. Like this horse is not messing around.
Exactly. And so I think maybe a lot of people get to a point where, okay, they're at a dead end. And then these people called the animal communicator, who was good. All right. And so she said, um, the horse sees the shadow and the blackness underneath the trailer. And not only is he scared of that, but he's positive that he's going to fall through that floor. He's going to cut up his legs and die. 100%. Obviously, 5 years later, the horse will not go in there no matter what you do. Yeah. He thinks he's going to die. Legit. So, and they're like, oh, you're kidding me, right? This is what we got. But they were like, all right, we spent the money on the animal communicator. Might as well go do it. So in that case, she said, just go take him over by the side, explain the mechanism of the trailer. I'm not sure exactly what they said, but even though he had seen horses in the trailer before, he thought he was going to fall through. So they explained that it was designed for the weight of 10 horses and he'll be fine. No, I don't know exactly what they said, but they did it. The horse, then when they were done talking, she said the horse kind of looked like he was thinking about what I said, but I had no idea. So she just took him over the trail and he got right in. So I'm like, are you kidding me? What? 5 years? That horse was close to being put down. So animal communication, maybe a lot of people think it's just for your warm and fuzzy feels. But I mean, it can be extraordinarily important because that horse was literally on its last hope.
Well, and in fact,
or it was too dangerous.
Yeah, in many cases, I mean, I call I've gotten involved in a research initiative to kind of, if not quantify, but at least qualify kind of what we do, how it happens, and why, some common reasons. And often we are a last resort. I call our field the Wild West field because we really are still, we're renegades. We're all over the place. A lot of us have suffered through a rather, difficult learning curve with lots and lots of different case studies and with not a lot of support or mentoring from within the organization. And we're often faced with these last resort type of cases where literally they'll try anything before they'll come and talk to us. And what I find again and again is the amazing power of conversation, communication. And one of my own instructors, I've never forgotten this. She said, you don't have the right to edit the animal side of the conversation. Share it the way that it's shared with you. And that is where I feel like, it's another type of learning curve in our industry because it's difficult to share hard news, and we're so highly intuitive. I don't know, psychic, that's an element of it, but our intuition, our survival system, the thing that's telling us whether everything is as it seems or if there's something off in this particular equation, it's picking up the anxiety and the dread and the worry coming from our human client and saying, don't say that, there's already a lot going on. And so it's like there are some barriers that it's like a maturity thing, and really understanding how our own energy works and where is this anxiety, where this worry, where is this fear, this resistance to sharing what's coming up. Where's that coming from? Is it coming from me? Is it coming from my human client? Is it coming from the animal? Is it coming from past trauma that we haven't dealt with? There are so many different facets. And just that willingness, first of all, just to take a chance, take a risk, which is what I love about your story. And it's what I love about your method, because you just weren't, I think you're one of my soul stitchers because you're just not willing to stop when it gets really hard or just go throw up your hands. And I mean, maybe that works for an evening or a few weeks and go, oh, just forget it. But then somehow we just get up and keep going again. And with that willingness and that the curiosity and the why are we here anyway? Well, let's go learn something new. Even if it doesn't lead anywhere, at least we made a new neural connection, so
Right.
So here we are. You've got a degree, you're a veterinary doctor, you are a veterinary chiropractic practitioner, you're a veterinary acupuncturist, and still there's more to be discovered. Still, you have clients who aren't quite where you feel, and I feel like this has to be some, maybe we can talk about that, but there has to be something in you that's going intuitively, I know there's more, that I know this isn't the best we can do for this horse. I know there isn't the best, and I don't know if this works for other animals or even human animals as well, but it's like there has to be something in you, that's something in your gut or in your heart, or that's, I don't know if it, how it feels to you, if it's like aching, or it's like this empathy channel that I often talk about with my animal communication students, where like, I just feel like there's more possibility here than what I've been able to bring to the table so far can adequately address. So that's not a very streamlined question, but do you see where I'm going with that?
I think maybe I'll try to give you a not so streamlined answer, and we'll see if we can get there.
That sounds right in alignment with our conversation today.
Right. Well, I feel like, everyone is made differently, right? They talk about all the ways people learn. First of all, there's like Garner's intelligences, so those 8 learning things. Okay, so some are more intuitive than others. This is how we're made, flat out. And I'm not an animal communicator. I'm not. As far as I have intuition, yes, but as far as having conversations with animals, I don't do that. Maybe I will someday, but at this moment, my heart is in getting them fixed health-wise. That is my big heart. So in my logical world, right, that's how I'm made, okay, is I did see things like, 1, I can't fix stuff with what I know. And 2, I want to mention this, I would see my veterinary bosses, who are generally older gentlemen who've been doing this 30 plus years, and they are burnt. They are burnt out. They are dead inside. It's like they know it's not working, but they've shut it down. And you got to pick one or the other. You are going to shut it down long term, and that's what I saw. So I don't want to be that person. And there's lots of those. And but what do I do? Right? Okay. And so then you keep going. And like you said, I have several certifications in alternative medicine, which are all good. Okay. Nothing against any of them. But there was still a need for more. Have cases where I've done the veterinary stuff and the acupuncture and the chiropractic, and I don't have a fixed horse. The horse is still suffering. And also, if I might mention, some of the treatments as a veterinarian always kind of went against the grain, because yes, for example, joint injections help. We do that very frequently on horses who are joint sore. But guys, there's a steroid in it, which is degrading the joint cartilage. So yeah, we're doing it to make the horse comfortable, and it is kind of necessary. But in the long run, we can't do this. Okay, but we are, because we don't have another answer. Yeah. And so I got in this stuck spot where I'm like, well, I gotta do something else. It's just degrading their cartilage, and then 5 years later, the people get another horse. That's not right. Okay, so anyways, that's how I got there. And then honestly, I just kind of got some more classes and saw that we're all made of energy, right? And the TBT technique works at the quantum level. Because even though everyone knows we're all made of energy, but the chair is made of energy, right? The table, which seems solid, isn't really solid, which even when I start talking about it, it hurts my brain. Okay. Yeah. But we are all energy.
Without a doubt.
Yeah. It's always hurts my brain still. So TBT works at the quantum level. And just one of the things to mention before I forget is that in my heart right now, I feel like I'm kind of a bridge for the people who are like me, who either are just very logical minded, that's how we're made, and or we got squished in the school system. Yeah. Okay. And we're trying to do this intuition thing, but it's not connecting, because I've heard some people who want to do animal communication, but wherever they go to learn, it's so woo-woo, and not really in a bad way. It's too fuzzy. There's no concrete thing to hold on to, so it doesn't get in their brain. Okay, so what I do have is I have a new course. It's a short course that I just made that's called What Does My Horse Want? And so what we talk about there is we're made of an energy field, right? Science measures this now. That used to be woo-woo. It used to be an aura. It used to be crazy. Science can measure our energy field. Ours goes out a couple feet. The horses goes out 10 feet. They've measured it. Okay, so then when our energy fields are overlapping, our bodies are getting information from the horse or dog or anybody. It's any animal has an energy field. So what that course is about is just yes and no questions. Because an energy field is sort of as a battery, right? A little energizer battery. You have a positive and a negative to an energy field. The positive is a yes, the negative is a no. And you can learn to feel that. You can learn to do muscle testing in it. And it's just yes or no. So rather than it being so vague and feelings, which works fine, but for some people it doesn't. Some people need concrete. So that's what I'm trying to make a bridge here is this
That's
is
brilliant.
concrete, it's energy, it's yes, no, and that's it.
That's brilliant. I'm a big fan of Enneagram and Colby, and I don't know if you're familiar. But yeah, I mean, the difference it's made in my empathy for other human animals as well as non-human animals, really just understanding that we are wired differently, and there are benefits to any structural wiring. I mean, there are things. It's like the day I realized that nobody in their right mind would ever hire me to do their taxes because I need a calculator to add 1 + 3 like regularly, and nor would I dream of doing it without one. And so I didn't have to worry that I'm not good at that particular type of reasoning or skill set, because I can just go hire somebody who is, but they might need me, somebody who also spent her youth as an introverted child and teen and young adult in the library, but I was reading woo-woo books without even knowing, and I would like hide if I saw anybody in the library that I knew. Like I would literally, go to the next stack and like hide so they wouldn't see what I was reading. It was just like, that's just where my own wiring led me, because I feel like, that I innately understood. I was able to kind of go deep with that material, and but then if I try to read a science textbook or some of the veterinary white papers and things, it's like, oh geez, just like there aren't enough crystals in the world to take this migraine away kind of thing. So it's like really just respecting. And I love that about what you just said, because it's like respecting different learning styles, respecting where the potential, where the really where the potential barometer is versus where we actually are right now, which is why I call this a Wild West field. And the science coming up underneath it, it's like we know the value of quantifying things, but we can also look at someone like Brene Brown, who conducted hundreds, if not thousands, of qualitative research interviews to compile her definitions of shame and vulnerability and talk about how it impacts us across gender, across ethnicity, across cultural lines. And so, bringing personal story together with what science shows us, and really just, I mean, the first half of the animal communication course that I teach just deals with getting the left brain on board, because it's either our greatest ally or it's our greatest opposition. It just has to understand its role in the mix. But not to get off topic on that. So tell us a little bit more about, of course, I shared with you before I pressed record that I've had some personal experience after a recent surgery. I actually had one of your trained practitioners, work on me because I was having a really severe medication reaction. I've also heard stories from friends of mine who are familiar with your work and led me to you about the possibility that that TBT can also work with other animal species beside horses. But I know you have a bunch of resources. I don't know where you would direct people to go first, maybe to your taster series, but just share a little bit for people that are just, they're listening and they're like, I still don't get it. So she's not doing veterinary necessarily. She's not necessarily doing straight chiropractic. She's not necessarily doing acupuncture. Well, then what is she doing? Like process of deduction. What are we left with here?
Right. So yes, I do have all that background, which is super been helpful. And Okay, but so now I just do TBT, Tucker Biokinetic technique. So TBT is much shorter. And it's just quantum energy work. You say, wow, what the heck is that, right? And of course, energy work is also very difficult to explain, just like intuition is, because we frankly just don't have the vocabulary.
We really don't.
We don't.
You're right.
So we try to use these other words like it's like this and it's like that and it's like this, but that's not really it. And so you kind of have to just do it. But the point is, as I mentioned earlier, we have energy fields that interact. So we can learn to feel that energy field, and then we can even work not just superficially, but within the body because it's just energy. Which was going to sound really wacky if you're not familiar with energy work, but that's okay. Just, try to, I would like to tell people, try to listen with your spirit because your spirit knows what's true. So get your brain out of it. Get your brain's thinking that's insanity land. And I've been there. I have been there. I thought chiropractic was insanity land. Okay. It was hard for me to even open the door to that. But fast forward 20 years and here I am. And I never thought I'd be here. So we work quantum level to work on the body, but as we go along in the TBT University, as I call it, we work both on physical, emotional, mental, spiritual, and other categories of causes. Because whatever the symptoms are, like if your knee hurts, okay, great. I'm not talking about if you fall on your knee, but if you have a chronic knee problem, maybe it's because your hip is not working. And so since your hip can't work and it's frozen, the body will just keep it still so it won't be painful because your hip might really hurt. It'll overuse the knee. Well, now, yes, you need to fix your knee, but if the problem keeps coming back, it's because there's some other primary cause hidden somewhere. And it could be anything. It can absolutely be a primary cause of emotional or spiritual or other or mental or whatever. So as we go through TBT, we cover all of those possibilities. And that might, again, seem strange, but it's all energy. I know it doesn't seem strange to you. To anyone listening, that's okay. Just start at the beginning. And like I said with my yes, no course, it's just yes or no. Is it a positive flow of energy or negative? And you just learn to feel that in a couple of different ways. So whatever works for you and your body and how you think of things, because it's, again, different for everybody. So I totally forgot what your original question was, but
well, that answered it. That answered it, which is kind of how, because you've got these other modalities that you're bringing to the table, but now we're taking it one step further and kind of adding, kind of wrapping in maybe there's an understanding that's implied from other types of energy work or even the foundation you have in medical science, but how do we take it to the next level? And it does feel like there's an energetic conversation that needs to happen because, as you mentioned, with some of your older, I'm trying to find the right word, colleagues who've gotten crunchy fried, burned out with, it's like you almost stop seeing the patient at that. You don't even see them in front of you. You don't feel their energy. You don't invite information in anymore. It's like either I put this band-aid over here or that band-aid over there. I've done what I needed to do and then we're done. And it's like, this feels like you're inviting the patient back into a conversation about their own wellness and what they need. Absolutely. Which is brilliant. And and it's like, sometimes I often tell people, if you've ever had a good vibe or a bad vibe or an aha moment or just a hunch or an experience of deja vu or a premonition of any kind, whether in dream state or waking, any of those things, if you ever just like stood with someone and been like, I just love them so much, I want to, swallow them whole, or I just can't wait to get away from this person, then you too have intuitive, at least some modicum of intuitive pathway that's open. I mean, I feel like it's hardwired into our survival system because we really, it's at some level, it's so instinctual and it really just bypasses the left brain entirely because it's really a function of keeping us alive. We need to know what's up with this other being and we need to know now because it's either hungry or friendly or neutral. So we need to know which it is and we need to know right now. But so, looking from the perspective and maybe some of our listeners or, if you're listening right now or you're watching on YouTube and you're like, I still don't really get it. Maybe ask yourself whether you need to right now, if what you've tried for your animal hasn't worked, which is really where we're headed with this season. We want to, offer you as many options as we can, so that, I spend all day, every day learning about what's out there in my field and related fields. Maybe you spend your time totally differently doing something that's equally valuable that I'll never even hear of, but here you are, and maybe you have a horse or another animal or somebody that you care about in your life, and they're just not getting better. And there's this spirit of adventure that we have to bring to the table, and you may feel into yourself and go, there's a reason why I'm listening today. And that's because I just don't believe this XYZ other professional who's told me that we've done everything, or I don't believe that my animal can't get better. And so that's where we come to the point of, it's like, yeah, maybe they don't have to get it. I mean, it's good to know the basics. It's good to kind of understand what's happening and what's not happening, and how it fits in with everything else that we've tried already. We don't want to reinvent the wheel, but this sounds unlike anything else that's really out there. And so maybe could you share a little bit about, when a horse guardian, or if you work with other animal species as well, when might somebody feel like it's the right time to reach out to you or one of your practitioners for help, or maybe take the time, invest in learning the technique for themselves? Because I know you also you mentioned your one class, you have quite a number of classes and books. So could you just, address for anyone who's listening, especially anyone that may have tuned in because they're like, I've heard about this, I don't really understand it, but I'm at a point where I would do anything for my animal and I don't know what else to do.
Yeah. And we have probably, just estimating, about 25% of our students who do come through are because they've been to every veterinarian and they drag their horse everywhere and there's no answer. Yeah. So about 25% of our people are coming in just to fix their own horse. And yes, because it's just energy, you can work on any animal. So dogs, cats, birds, humans, any animal. Fish. I worked on my fish. That's fun. Because they all have energy fields. So it's really the same thing. So if you have a dog, we as we go through the courses, and if you're actually joined TBT University, we do 3 Zoom virtual seminars, or I have some other instructors who do them locally live in Australia and UK and middle of the States. So you can do live or virtual, which both are fine. So my point is, if that's why you would need either a horse or a dog, because you want to see the before and after. Because once we get in that fuzzy area of our head, like, am I doing this energy work? I don't know. I'm trying, but how do you know? Well, with this technique, we go by the before and after movement. Does that elbow bend or doesn't it? Period. Okay. It's not again, I feel like this is a bridge from a couple, some things are too fuzzy for some people, and people who are still in the traditional veterinary medicine box are very boxed in the box.
Yeah, and
this goes between. So when would you call? I love people to call right away. So what I do is I do recommend doing the Was My Horse Want course if you're interested in that, because you might get intuition or animal communication of saying the horse needs help with his back. It's painful, whatever. But then what do you do, right? So you could then learn, or you can teach this, whichever, of, well, yes and no. Should I call the vet? No, I'm sorry. I said the wrong thing right there again. Don't say should. Should is nebulous. What I like to teach my students is to say, is it best for this horse if I call the vet? Yes or no?
Nice.
Okay? Is it best for this horse if I call a TBT person? Is it best for this horse if I get a new saddle? And on and on. It's yes or no. And that may take a lot of questions, but they do get faster as you get more experience with it, and you get more intuition from the horse, and you confirm with your yes and no question asking, which is different, in my opinion, than direct communication. It's different. I think it's a different frequency, but I don't know for sure.
Well, applied kinesiology is something that I use frequently in my work. And what I've learned is that, or at least this is my approach, is there's all kinds of ways to ask questions. And my goal isn't to be able to prove to myself or anyone else that I've asked all the questions in a specific way and they've all lined out equally. My goal is to be able to hear the animal clearly and receive useful information that I can pass along with any human, to any human that may be involved in their care. So it's like if I'm using muscle testing or applied kinesiology, if I'm using animal communication, if I'm using Reiki, which is a huge channel for me to receive and send information, I don't really care. As long as I'm getting information that actually is useful. If I'm not, then we're not having the right conversation.
Right.
So yeah.
Yeah, that totally makes sense. And in TBTU, we also go through more and more depth as you go along, getting into that space. I call it ground position just for ease of talking, but it's not just grounding. Okay. But I call it that, where you're trying your best to get your just human expectations and assumptions out of the equation. It's, harder at first with your own animals and stuff, but we just want to hear what's true. So you have to get out of the front of your brain, because that's the thinking brain that's got all these assumptions, experiences, expectations, ditch it and get to the back of your brain, which is a whole nother story. But it's a different part of your brain. And so we go over that and talk about the frequencies of sections of your brain and where you should be. Because if you're in here, you can be trying your hardest to communicate, but it's so stuck here, it ain't gonna work.
Yeah, it's so cool. It's like I often share that there's so much about being human that I didn't know until I said yes to this journey that I've been on. And I don't know that I could necessarily just pop one hat on top of it and say it was an intuitive, it was an energetic, it was a this, it was that. It was like an uncharted hike, and I just said, let's go see what there is to be seen out here. And I feel like there are so many bells and whistles inside of me that have kind of turned on. And I could see pieces of it, like when I came across Jill Bolte Taylor's book, My Stroke of Insight, and she talked about how her stroke in her I think it was early 40s, turned her left brain hemisphere off for a while. And she had to kind of live and reprogram everything from her right brain hemisphere. And the degree of openness that she experienced was like, she was aware of all these incoming sensations and experiences, but they didn't have any boundaries on them. And so it's just really interesting to kind of be like, dang, nobody handed me a manual. I know more about how to turn off the check engine light in my car and how to open the gas cap and, all these, or change a tire than I do about how my own brain works or where each one of the major glands in my body are located, let alone the challenge that veterinarians and animal energy workers and practitioners have of learning anatomy that's so different from our own. I mean, there's all the same basic functions, but where are they?
Totally.
Yeah. So how would you, if someone's listening and they're new and they want to get involved, or maybe, okay, there's two tracks. There's folks that have an animal and they want to, let's say a horse or a dog, and they want to be able to provide relief or comfort or healing or improved performance, physical wellness to their animal. That would be, they're coming in through a course maybe, and maybe through Where Does My Horse Hurt course, because it seems like it's a really good overview of maybe, and even I found an online resource that you have on your website where you can like click on different parts of the body and you can actually see what different illnesses or issues may be associated, which can also, I mean, every day somebody gets a horse for the very first time and boy, do they start on the learning curve, right? It's like, well, what was I thinking back when you were memorizing horse anatomy? And then it's like, so, but then there's the other track of folks that they want to experience, they want somebody else to do it for them. So how did they get in touch with you and, get help? Maybe they don't have the time or the resources to learn TBT for themselves. So how does that work?
Okay, so, I have two websites. One is wheredoesmyhorsehurt.com, because I wrote a book called Where Does My Horse Hurt?
Where Does My Horse Hurt? Yeah, very
and
good.
That's just the physical checkups of how do you move the horse's shoulder? What should it be doing? So how you know if it's working or not, right? And so then you would have these physical, objective checkups. Then you do the energy work. Then you do these checkups again. Did it fix it or not? Okay. So I got off there. So I have where's my horse hurt.com. That's all information about horses, just free info. You can sign up there if you like for my 50 horse secrets.
Which is excellent. I'm really enjoying it.
Thank you. They're very short. So I try to keep them short so people can just, take 2 minutes and read them. Let's see. And so those are very obviously horse specific. So, and it within the Where Does My Horse Sort website, we have all kind of, as you mentioned, different options for things, but the 50 secrets will mention all those options as you go along. So if you don't want to be overwhelmed with this, just sign up for that. I also have some free videos, kind of a training series, a taster series of stuff about healing and really about how to think about the screaming problem is probably not the problem. That's what we're seeing, and the compensation is totally used up, but the cause is something totally different we're not even thinking about. So trying to get our brains around that one, because Western medicine is, you've got a cut, you put a Band-Aid on it. You got a hurt joint, you stick an injection in it. It's very much symptom, fix the symptom, but never find the cause of it. So that's what I'm over that. Okay, we need to find the primary cause. All right. And so then if you're interested in the technique to fix it, that's the Biokinetic.com. And then as you're asking, if you just want someone to fix it, we're getting a good number of people through. And we have our practitioner page, which is wheredoesmyhorse.com practitioners. So that's all on there. So just 2 websites. Hang out in there for a while if you want.
And I'll put those in the show notes. So
that'd be great.
If you're driving, please don't try to stop and take notes. Please don't try to keep driving and take notes. We'll put it in the show notes for you.
Awesome.
So either way, whether you need somebody to help your horse right now because they're uncomfortable or they're in pain, and you want something that you can do tomorrow if that option is available for your schedule, you can get that done right away by finding one of the practitioners who's already up and running and ready to help you. Is this something that needs to be done locally, or can it be done remotely?
It can totally be done remotely.
So don't worry if you don't have a practitioner in your area. In other words, you can use somebody who doesn't live locally close to you. And then of course the other track is, there's all kinds of different learning options, whether you want to dive in or you want to just start with the books. And I've certainly, when you love animals, we can never learn enough to feel like we're really bringing everything that we can possibly offer to the table. And so I've been very much enjoying reading through your books. And that's one of the blessings of this podcast is continuous learning. I can feel the new neural connections up there right now. There's lots of very happy little synapses, and we like happy synapses around here. So Renee, I really appreciate you donating your time and being a part of season 3 of Let's Talk to Animals. It's just so great to meet someone who has created and founded such an amazing system and just really has never accepted that's all we can do. I mean, that's what inspires me to keep going. Is just, what else can we do? What else can we do? What else can we offer? There's always more if we just willing to open up to inspiration and the spirit of adventure. For those of you who are listening or watching here at Let's Talk to Animals, I want to thank you. Obviously, it would just be me and Renee talking to ourselves if you weren't part of our community, and we really appreciate you. I'm just genuinely interested in the problems that you face, the questions that you have, guests that you'd like to hear from. Will certainly do my best to bring that all about for you. Just want to thank you for your time, your energy, and definitely for your willingness to share. We're still a young podcast, and listening ears are what we live for. So if you can subscribe, do all the usual stuff, it will make our day. And so just wanting to send you all of our love, and I'm about to go. We're recording here late in the afternoon, and it's time for a 24-year-old feathery someone's rice dinner. So I'm about to do that. But if you have missed previous episodes of Let's Talk to Animals, you can head over to animallovelanguages.com/podcast, or just type in Let's Talk to Animals anywhere podcasts are streamed, and hopefully you'll be able to find us. And if you don't, hopefully you'll be able to email me and let me know. So I want to say goodbye for now, sending you all of our all of our ongoing devotion for how much you love and care for animals. Renee, thank you again for being with us, and see you next week here at the podcast for another wonderful episode. Okay, bye for now.